So I am Kim Kelly, and I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction, for those of you that I haven't had a chance to meet before. This panel is full of a wonderful mixture of familiar faces, people who have been, who were on the committee last year, and then some new faces who are joining us. And one of the beauties of this committee is every year approximately half the members roll off, term out, and the other half stay. So there's both continuity and there's new, fresh thought each year. So that's something very nice. I'm going to go back and forth between displaying a slideshow and then turning it off, and then we will all be able to see each other. So I'm going to, right now, I'm going to start sharing my screen. All right, I'm gonna hope that you guys are able to see that. Would somebody unmute their mic and just tell me if you are?
Yep, we can see it.
We can see it.
Excellent, thank you. All right, well, so welcome to the Curriculum and Instruction Committee meeting for October 20th of 2020. And just so you're aware, the meeting is being recorded, and I believe that the recording will remain available to the public. So if that colors whether you'd like to have your camera on or not, or if it has an impact on what you might say in the meeting, I just want you to not be taken by surprise by that. I'm going to make the assumption that all of you navigated at least this much of the getting online. You should have received a calendar invite with a blue button that said join with Google Meet. When you click that, it should have taken you down to step 2 here, where you're given the opportunity to join, and you did that. And so here you are now. Once you're on Google Meet, there are quite a few tools that I want to make you familiar with. And I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way across the bottom, and then we'll kind of come around to the top. So down at the bottom are probably the 3 most important tools. The tool that looks like a small microphone, obviously, is how you're going to either mute or unmute your mic. If you click it once, it's going to turn red and have a slash through it, and that says that you are muted. If you click it again, it's going to be the white that you can see here on my slide, and that means that whatever you say, the group will be able to hear. And the button next to it, which I love because it harkens back to the old days before cell phones, the red telephone there is one of the ways that you can leave the meeting. You can also just go to the X that's in the upper right corner, click the X and close the tab, and that will take you out of the meeting as well. Next to that, there's a button that looks like a small camera. You can click that to turn your camera on and off. If you look up toward the top of your screen, you'll see that there's a rectangle, a white rectangle that has 3 icons in it. The one with the sort of the heads and shoulders shows you who is on the meeting, the number of people. And if you click on that, it's going to show you a list of who's on the meeting. The icon in the middle that looks like a speech bubble is the button that you would click to have your chat window open up. And the button that looks like the 3 geometric shapes is where we're going to go to do a couple different things. We're going to go there for some question and answer. We're going to go there to do some polling and such as that. Back down to the bottom, if you are someone who'd like to have closed captioning, that would be the words down at the bottom of the screen. You can click to turn on closed captioning. You don't have the opportunity to present, and each of you should have 3 vertical buttons, 3 little dots here in a row, and if you click those, it opens up another menu for you. Much of what's on that menu you probably won't use today, but there are a couple things that you might want to use. One is is a menu choice that's about halfway up, turn on background blur. If you click that, it just blurs what's going on in your background. I have my background blur on right now, so you can sort of see what's happening where I am, but not really. And the other one you might want to use is the change layout button. If you click change layout and then choose tiled as your choice, It's going to give you a matrix of the faces of the people in the meeting, which makes it a little bit easier as we're having conversations. So I'm going to stop sharing now. And ask, is there anybody who has any questions about those features of Google Meet? You're like, well, I would have asked a question, but I couldn't figure out where the microphone button was, so I didn't. All right. One of the features of this meeting is that it's a public meeting, and as such, the public has the right to make oral comment. If we were meeting in a conference room, people would have the right to come and be there and stand in front of us and share their opinion about anything they want that is not on our agenda. If we have people who want to give public comment, I'll give you some more. I will give you some more instructions about it. Tonight, as it turns out, we don't have anyone. And right now, while we're doing our meetings virtually, the way that people would give us public comment is that from the public-facing Fremont Unified webpage, there is a link to a Google form that people can fill out, and they can type in basically about 1 minute of public comment. That would come to me in the form of text, and then I would read it aloud. But today, as far as I know, we have no public comment, right, Julie? We didn't end up with any. Thank you. And I'm calling on Julie Wise, who is my absolute right and left hand. She's our department secretary, and she's really been a tremendous help getting all of this together. So let's see. I think the best way to do this is going to be to go back and share this just for a minute. All right, so what I'd like to do now is I'd like to give us just a little bit of a chance to get to know each other, because we're going to spend a year together, and I'm hoping that we're going to do some really important work together, and it's going to be challenging work. And so knowing a little bit about who's in the room is, I think, going to be really helpful for us. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to call people's names, and I'm going to be going alphabetically by last name because that's the list that I have. And when I call on you, if you can just unmute your mic and then tell us these things. So what's your name? What is your role? So are you a parent? Are you a student? Are you a teacher? Are you a principal? Are you a member of the C&I department? And if you are here because you're representing kids, your own kids, you're welcome to tell us about them. Like if you have, I have a 6th grader at Parkmont, let's say, and a 12th grader at Washington High School. If you're uncomfortable sharing that information, no pressure. If you are here as something other than a parent, but you want to tell us about your kids, that would be great too. We'd love to know, why were you interested in being part of this committee? Because each one of you, well, I shouldn't say, some of you might have been voluntold that you were going to join us, but some of you joined us because you were interested in it. And if so, what was it that interested you? Just for my information, if you can tell me what's your familiarity with Google Meet, just so I kind of have a sense for where we might need to move slowly and where we'll just chug right forward. And then the last question would be, do you believe that you have some sort of a unique perspective that you bring to share with us? Is there something about your life experience or the way you interact in the world, the job you do, that you think brings kind of a unique perspective that we will be able to leverage and take advantage of? So I'm gonna escape out of here, stop sharing, and I'm going to see if I can. I'm going to copy these now, and I'm going to set them out into the chat. Excuse me. So if you remember, in order to see the chat, you click on the little speech bubble that's in the upper right side of your screen. And once you have the chat open, you can look at that and refer back to it if you want. When it's your turn to speak, if you just roll your cursor down to the bottom of your screen, the white bar will pop up, and you want to click your microphone button so that it's white, as opposed to red. If yours is red and has a slash through it, it means you're muted. So as I said, I'm just going to call on people alphabetically by last name. So I apologize because it's going to be kind of jumbly, but love to hear from you. And Sid, you are my first person in alphabetical order. Would you mind kicking us off? Your name, your role or location? Why are you interested? How well do you know Google Meet? And what unique perspective might you bring?
Sure. Hi, my name is Sid Banerjee. So I'm a parent at FUST. I have 3 boys. All of them go to Parkman Elementary School. The elder one goes to 1st grade, and I have twins in the kindergarten. So that's very interesting and very busy. Also, I am, other than in the C&I committee, I'm also very involved with FCPTA. I'm an advisory committee. I'm the co-chair in the advisory committee of FCPTA, as well as special ed committee of FCPTA. Why am I interested? Oh, so I'm interested to get an understanding of how the curriculum and instruction is set at FUST, as well as give my input to the FUST curriculum and instruction. I have heard from many different people in the FCPTA, as well as from other advocacy groups, on how we can make it more equitable. So that's why I'm here. I'm very familiar with Google Meet, as you can see from my chat already. I'm quite familiar with Google Meet. My unique perspective, well, other than being a parent, not much. I mean, of course, in the special, I'm involved with the special education. So my perspective will be to bring in, from the perspective of what we should be doing in terms of special education and how we can keep our special education students at par with other students. I personally, and me and my wife both have PhDs, so in engineering. So other than that, we are just parents. So we are here to help kids. I'm done. Thank you.
I know, it's the red one at the bottom, right? Michelle, may I ask you to go next and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Burke, and I am also a parent at FUSD. My son is now a junior in high school. But my role here is as a board member, an FUSD board member. So one of the non-voting members of this committee, but I've always enjoyed C&I because I believe curriculum and instruction is at the heart of everything that goes on in Fremont. So I always get very excited about these meetings and the opportunity to listen to different perspectives about whatever is on the table. My experience with Google Meet is somewhat limited to these kinds of meetings. I love that there is the captioning feature, and that kind of leads to the unique perspective that I bring to the table, and that is that I work as a principal at the California School for the Deaf in the Early Childhood Education Department. And so I have a PhD in early language, so language development. And so that's my passion, and that's, I think, what I bring to the table as a bilingual person who was raised in deaf, because we know Flint has a large deaf community within it. So I feel that's a perspective that I bring that we don't typically see at meetings such as this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Victoria. Will you introduce yourself, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Victoria Burbeck Herrera, and I am currently serving as the president of the Fremont Unified District Teachers Association. I am a math teacher by trade with a master's in pure mathematics. So that's my other passion. I think that obviously curriculum and instruction is a huge piece of what we do. My perspective and the reason that I was interested in being on this committee is that I would like to see it take a more active role in discussion and recommendations of things that come to the school board. Other committees have started bringing forward reads of different policies that school board is approving and other agenda items that the school board has to review. I would like them to have the expertise and the time that you all are putting in and actually see that formalized. So there's a lot of potential in this committee, and I'm excited to take part in that. I'm okay with Google Meet. My main frustration, and Miss Kelly can tell me if I'm missing it, is that I don't ever see something that equates to a raise hand feature. And that is for me the #1 downside of Google Meet. So I'd be interested in seeing kind of how we work around that with a group this size and how we manage that. But other than that, I'm okay with Google Meet as long as my tech is cooperating. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Victoria. And yeah, it's a great question. And the answer is that Google Meet does not yet have a raise hand feature. So we have the low tech raise hand feature. And I apologize for that. Hopefully it won't be a problem for us. I see there's a note in the chat about whether the meeting is really going to be recorded. So I'm going to take just a second and check with Luis. Luis, are you out there and can you hear me? I just want to make sure we've done what we need to do to get started correctly. All right. Yes. Perfect. Thank you so much, Luis, for confirming that for us. And just for you all, Luis is he's a member of our district office, and he oversees all of the live streaming and the video and all of those aspects of our meetings. So great big job. All right, let's see. Stacy, would you introduce yourself for us, please?
Hi, everyone. My name is Stacy Kalim, and I am a kindergarten teacher at Chadbourne Elementary School. This is my 19th year teaching in the district. I primarily being in kindergarten, first grade. I am happy to serve on this committee because I enjoy being part of adoption committees and learning new materials and bring different things to my students and see what's out there and what, just because it's old doesn't mean it doesn't work. And just because it's new doesn't mean that's always the best. And I like to bring the perspective of my years of experience to try to find the fine balance, especially on what's appropriate for the young ones in our district. That is it. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy. Krista, let me have you go next.
Hi, I'm Krista Claussen, and my role here is I am a teacher. I teach first and second grade at Briar School. I was a parent in the district, but my children grew up and graduated. So my interest in being part of this committee, I have always been interested in curriculum and instruction and the assessment committee as well. Have done a lot of work with those committees over the course of my quite long career. My unique perspective here is my career has been very long. This is the beginning of my 33rd year teaching for Fremont Unified. So I've been here a really long time and have seen the pendulum swing from side to side with curriculum. What we're doing now with Common Core is what we did before we had standards to begin with. And it's kind of just gone back and forth, and it's been very interesting to watch. My familiarity with Google Meet, I refer to myself as the Zoom master, and I Zoom every day, all day. Google Meet, we tried to have a second grade collaborative meeting with Google Meet in the summertime, and the second grade teachers across the district who came, and there were about 33 of us, decided Google Meet was not for us. So my only other experience is when we are working with our coaches or doing things with the district office, but I'm adaptable and can figure it out.
Great.
But I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to have you here. Thank you, Krista. And I see there's a question about, since Google Meet doesn't have a raise your hand feature, could we switch to Zoom? The district has standardized on Google Meet as the way we're going to conduct public meetings. And I'm sure there are technical reasons and rationale for that. So we're just gonna work with what we have. So thanks for asking the question though. And Susan, can I have you introduce yourself? Susan, I think maybe you're muted still. There you go. Susan, I'm going to stop you. We might be having trouble with your microphone. I can see that you are speaking, and it looks to me like you should be, I should be able to hear you, but we are not hearing the words you're saying. So, yeah, we're just not hearing you. So I'm gonna have you pause. Maybe we can get that worked out and we can come back to you. Edward, do you mind introducing yourself next for us? Thanks.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ed Cruz, and my role here is I am a parent of two children at American High School. One's a junior and one is a freshman. And I am currently chauffeuring between tasks right now for them. But my interest in participating in this committee is also the curriculum. Really, I mean, it is because of curriculum and instruction. I am myself a teacher. I have been teaching post-secondary mathematics for over 30 years now. I'm currently a professor over at Diablo Valley College. And this is my second term on the C&I committee. And while I thought I was going to be bringing in a unique perspective, I think I learned much more than I brought in these last few years. And I look forward to learning much more in these next couple years. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. Oh, yes.
Sorry, yeah. This is my second time using Google Meets. I too use Zoom primarily. So I look forward to learning about that as well. Thank you.
All right, well, you're doing a great job driving, not crashing, and working with a new tool. So that's commendable.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Cruz is overly modest. He brings a tremendously interesting perspective to our meetings because of the work that he does, because he's who we pass our students to when they finish here in Fremont Unified up to the college level. So Tushar, would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, everyone. My name is Tariq Dalmia. I'm currently a junior at Mission San Jose High School, and that's my role. I'm interested in being in this committee. Obviously, as a student, I'm very interested in curriculum and instruction, but also just in general, I want to take more advantages at like the district level and take advantage of the opportunities we have to represent students better. As for Google Meet, I haven't used it very much. I was on the materials subcommittee of the distance learning task force back in June, and I used it a couple times then, but that's pretty much it. And then I've been in FUSD like all of my life so far. So I guess like that's kind of the perspective that I bring, and also just representing all of the students and their new like thoughts about distance learning and curriculum and instruction in general. And I look forward to hearing everyone else's perspectives.
Thank you, Tushar. And we really love to hear from students. So please don't ever feel like you shouldn't share your perspective, because it's very important to us. Aruna, may I have you introduce yourself next?
Hello, everyone. My name is Arun Arora. I'm a parent volunteer. My daughter is in fourth grade, at Warm Springs Elementary. And I have a son who is a junior in college in Texas. So we moved last year from Texas. So I would like to bring in like my experience of raising my son from where we moved from Texas. So I have a lot of experience as a parent, as a volunteer in various school districts and different states. And with regards to Google Meet, I am not really much experienced in that, but I am a Skype person more than that. Yes, thank you.
Great. We're so glad to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. Jorge, would you mind going next?
Not at all. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jorge Gonzalez. I am the principal at Patterson Elementary School. And I am interested in being part of this committee because I want to get more experience with regards to the adoption process and all, and of curriculum, and also making sure that the curriculum that we do have at our sites and that our students have access to is reflective of our times and also of our cultures as we move forward. I am not familiar with Google Meet. This is I believe, my third time. My unique perspective that I bring is I have a doctorate in education, and my focus was looking at first generation Latino college students and their success rate as well in graduation, and also as a member of the LGBT community, making sure that our community is being accurately represented in the curriculum that we're teaching.
Great. All right. Thank you so much. Walt, mind going next?
Well, geez, that's a tough one to follow, Jorge. That was excellent. Thank you. So for me, I kind of see myself, I do. I see myself as a servant educator. You know, to me, education is a means of working towards a social justice. And I see my work as a journey towards equity. And so really what I'm doing here is I see curriculum as one means to really kind of foster some of my interest in that. I also believe that I'm an instructional leader, and as part of an instructional leadership, you know, I think that this is one means for me to give back to the community. I really want to help represent our Latinx and our African American / Black families and those that are marginalized in our communities, because, you know, we all have voiceless people that are marginalized, and that's really some of the role that I want to take on, or be able to at least reach out to some of those communities. My familiarity with Google Meet, well, just like everybody else, hit and miss. You know, I wish myself luck every single time I open it up. And what unique perspective do I bring to share? It seems I can't hold down a job. I've been in quite a few districts just from moving around, really. I can hold down a job, and this is the last district I'm going to be in. I love it here. But the unique perspective I do bring, I think I've done some of the equity work before fairly successfully. And, you know, it's just one step in my journey. So I think I'm going to help bring that. And with that said, I'm going to do what my teachers really appreciate. I'm going to mute myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Walt. Seigel, do you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Seigel Mehta. I'm a parent volunteer, and I have two boys, and they are both high schoolers, a 9th grader and a senior, 12th grader in Kennedy High. This is my second term with this committee, and I think my real interest in this is I joined last year, or when I applied last year, was because I was really interested to see how FUSD comes up with the decisions they do with regard to instruction, committee classes, and just everything that we hear of as our kids go through the school. And it's been amazing. Everything I'm learning, it's great. My background is instructional design. I have a Master of Education in counseling students, and I'm a learning and development professional, but all in the tech industry. So I'm really enjoying seeing this in a different industry. My familiarity with Google Meet, I'm more comfortable with Zoom, but I can handle this, not a problem. I've used it much less though. And my husband works at Google, so I'm going to tell him to tell them they need to add this feature of raising the hands, otherwise they lose some clients. And unique perspective is I'm also a certified college admissions counselor. So when you have high school students, a senior who's right in the middle of college applications, working in a highly competitive environment right now where a lot of students are applying for colleges, I think I really like to see how our curriculum and how our school is getting kids ready for college.
Great. Thank you very much, Seigel. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Parole, would you mind introducing yourself next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Parole. I am, this is my second term with a C&I committee. I am a parent of two elementary school kids, fifth grader and first grader at Burke Elementary. I wanted to be part of this committee because, again, as some of you already said, like a better understanding of C&I committee, as well as since it's the core of FESD, also opportunity to contribute to FESD. My familiarity with Google Meet, I'm pretty familiar with Google Meet. And I guess perspective, I am a bilingual and I have been part of PTA board for quite a few years. And so bring that perspective, as well as I work for environmental organization and the climate issues that we are facing. So just bring a different perspective in that way also.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Let's see, Jamie Shimomura just joined us. I put the questions in the chat. Jamie, we're just interested in knowing a little bit about you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jamie Shimomura. I currently work in the Department of Curriculum and Instruction as a program manager, responsible for K-12 history and ELA curriculum and elementary programs. I'm also a former teacher from Ardenwood, and I have two children in the district. One is a fifth grader at Warwick, Pearl, and one is a 10th grader at Mission. And just always love and kind of geek out on just anything that has to do with curriculum and instruction and improving capacity and building connections for our students and our teachers. So that's why it's great that I get to be on this committee. My familiarity with Google Meet, like we were saying yesterday in our department meeting, many of us are bilingual when it comes to Meet and Zoom. So I'm pretty comfortable with Google Meet. And then I think a unique perspective that I have to bring is just professionally with my background in education, also being a parent of a child who is dyslexic, and then being a parent of students in our district, I think gives me a unique perspective. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Great. Thank you, Jamie. Deanna, would love to hear from you.
Hello.
Hello.
I am I open?
You are.
Okay. I am currently a teacher at Briar, and I teach second grade with Krista. I've been there my entire career, and I actually had two boys go through Fremont Unified, and they were Briar students too. They have long since graduated and moved on. This is my second year on the committee, and I joined it because I do have a master's degree in curriculum and instruction, and I'd like to see if I could take that a little further with what I learned. I am not real familiar with Google Meet because I Zoom all the time with my students. And I just think that perspective I bring has to do with being a former parent, rolling into the job of a teacher, and then onto a committee that actually affects all the kids and their learning.
Great. Thank you, Deanna. Ashurya, I'd love to hear from you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ashurya. I'm a student at Washington High School. I'm actually a senior this year, so I'll be graduating this year. So for my role, obviously, I'm a student representative, and I'm really excited to be here. So I really wanted to be a part of this committee because I heard really great things about it last year from one of the student representatives. And I really liked how involved everyone is. And especially after like noticing the Black Lives Matter movement and seeing how we can reform our curriculum to be more racially inclusive, I thought it would be really interesting to gain a new perspective. So I really wanted to join and see what we can do about that. And hopefully we could do some changes about that in the future. And as for my unique perspective, I feel that as a student, I can give insight on how our students feel about our curriculum right now and how we can reform it and make it better so that each student learns what they should learn in FESD.
Great.
Oh, and as for Google Meets, so all my classes are actually on Zoom, and I've been using Zoom mostly this year, but I've also been familiar with Google Meet, so it's pretty comfortable for me. Although I do prefer Zoom just because of the raising hand feature. I think it's much more convenient, but I also really like Google Meets. I think it's also really simple and nice.
Great. Thank you so much. It's going to be a pleasure to have you on the committee.
Thank you.
Arti. In a minute. Oh, silly me. Arti is not here with us today. Shilpa.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Shilpa Verma. I am a para at Centerville Junior High, but I'm here as a parent. My daughter is in 7th grade at Horner, and my son just graduated from Irvington. He's a freshman in college right now. My interest in joining in this committee actually kicked in when FUSD switched to Common Core. The whole discussion at YBEL and how it was happening got me interested in curriculum. And over the years, through self-learning, I learned a little bit. I went ahead and did some PD hours over the summer just for my own interest. And I'm here today just to understand more how it's really happening in the real world and how FUSD makes those decisions. My familiarity with Google Meet is this is my first Google Meet. So it's mostly been Zoom all the time, but it seems pretty familiar besides the hand raise feature. I think everything else is pretty similar. The blur background feature is really nice, which Zoom doesn't have that. So that's a plus for Google Meet. My unique perspective is that my career so far has been a hodgepodge of different things. So my background is in engineering. I did a lot of freelance work in research and writing. And through the insane amount of volunteering in schools, I decided to make a career switch into education. And that's how I'm working towards my certification right now. But so I think my unique perspective is I bring in the blend of two worlds. Like how do we learn something in theory, but it doesn't really work in the real world sometimes. So how do we change things to make it work for the real world? And as a para in the resource for middle school, I also see how when we teach something in theory, it looks good on the paper, but when you put it out to certain kids, they're like, that doesn't make any sense because their world sometimes is black and white. There's no gray in between. So I'm hoping that through my learnings here and through my input, I can bring in some new perspective on that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Shilpa. All right, we just have two people we haven't heard from yet. So I'm going to ask Sue Lemke to introduce herself, and then Susan Candio Hernandez, we're going to come back and with fingers crossed that your microphone's going to work. But Sue Lemke, will you?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Sue Lemke. I am in the Curriculum and Instruction Department. I oversee science and math, K-12 science and math, and secondary teaching support. I went to Fremont schools, and I've been teaching in Fremont since 1990 and have taught high school and junior high school. And then in 2014, I joined the Curriculum Instruction Department. And I think that gives me a unique perspective of all the changes that have happened and have seen what really works for all kids in the classroom. And I'm super passionate about the science standards, and that's what I'm currently working on my doctorate in that area in around the NGSS. And so that's my unique perspective. And I'm familiar with Google Meet because this is what we started on when we went into shelter in place back in March.
Great. Thank you, Sue. All right, Susan. Susan says she's on a new computer, so we're going to cross our fingers.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I apologize. Here I was yakking away. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Susan Candio Hernandez, and I am a lifelong educator. I have taught all grades from kindergarten to the 12th grade, including AP classes at the high school level. Last year, I was actually the chair of the C&I committee. I am multilingual. I've lived in 3 different countries, and I'm also in a biracial marriage where my husband is from another country. So equity and diversity is very near and dear to our hearts. The reason why I'm on the C&I committee is because curriculum and instruction is the core of what we do in education. And curriculum instruction is what drives everything in our district. I'm a lifelong educator. I've completed 8 AXA academies. For those of you who are administrators, know what that is about. I've been on many committees in our district, the report card committee, assessment committee, adoption committee. I could go on and on and on. What unique perspective that brings me to this committee is my collaborative with a shared leadership style. And also because I've taught all grade levels, I've been there and done that, and have had experiences working with in high performing schools, low performing schools, you name it, I've been there. In suburban districts and poor districts, I've done it all. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of this committee.
Excellent. We're so glad you're here, and we're glad that we can hear your voice. I don't know if you're on a laptop or not. We can see just kind of about halfway through your glasses and into your forehead. Oh, there you go. Now we've got all of you, sight and sound. Excellent. All right. Thank you so much to everybody for the information that you shared with us. I have to say, I am so excited about the diversity of perspectives, the diversity of backgrounds, and also just the passion for learning and passion for education and the recognition of the important role that curriculum and instruction play in learning. And I can hear it in every single one of you. So I thank you so much. I'm so glad to meet all of you. Oh, I guess I should probably introduce myself. So as I said, I'm Kim Kelly. I'm the director of curriculum and instruction. I have been with Fremont Unified about 23 years. I started out as a teacher at Parkmont. I was a principal for a while at Green Elementary. I've been in the district office. This is my 6th year. I spent 3 years working as a coach, a leadership coach with our site principals. And then for the last 3 years, I've been just so fortunate to head up the curriculum and instruction department. And I will say, as every single chance I get, I have an amazing team, and they just really work so hard, and they're so perceptive, and they want the best for students, and they know the best for students comes from supporting teachers and supporting principals, because that's where the action is. That's where the learning happens, is in our schools. And so our job is to support what goes on in the schools. I have 2 kids who came through Fremont schools. They are both grown. They pay their own mortgages. So I consider that to be just a huge credit to Fremont schools. I'm familiar enough with Google Meet, although as they change features, I'm glad to have new features, but it means I have to learn small new things. And maybe my unique perspective is that I am the director of curriculum and instruction. So as it's one of those jobs that as long as you don't look directly at it, you're fine. But if you really begin to think about the magnitude of trying to make sure that 35,000 students are well educated, it can be kind of a lot. But we take it a day at a time, and a decision at a time, and a moment at a time. And as I said, I'm an amazing staff, and we have fabulous principals and teachers who have risen to this distance learning challenge in ways we could not even have imagined. So I consider I'm very, very lucky to work. And of course, our families, our supportive families, so many of you who are here. Let's see, I'm going to do a little bit of business now. So I'm going to share my screen again and just take us through a couple things. All right, so just to let you know kind of the purpose of our committee. It's stated in our bylaws, and the purpose is to advise and offer input into Fremont Unified School District's curriculum and instruction planning by reviewing and advising on curriculum and materials that are of high quality, equitable, and relevant to instruction. And I think all of those things, of course, are absolutely important, but I'm excited because I suspect this year that word equitable is going to be a place where we spend a lot of our time, and I'm excited about that. Each of you should have a copy of our meeting schedule. I'm not going to show it right now just for the sake of time, but if you don't have a copy of it, please let me know and I will make sure that you get a copy of it. Our meetings happen once a month and they are typically on the third Tuesday, but we'll get you a schedule that has all the dates and times. As a committee, we do like to have norms. And so what I'd like to do, rather than starting from scratch, I'll show you the norms that we worked with last year. Maybe I will. And we do not have to be the norms that we work with this year, but I thought maybe rather than starting from scratch, we would use this as a starting point. Let's see, can somebody give me a thumbs up? Like Jamie, are you guys able to see that screen? Yeah, okay, thank you, Sue. So you can see our norms. We try to start and end on time. We try to stay on schedule. I'm probably only 20 minutes behind today, so that's practically on schedule, right? When we're in a room together, we ask that people's cell phones be silent. Here, I think that maybe the version of that might be that we have our microphones on mute when we're not talking. We really encourage active listening, and we try to include time for people to ask questions, because this isn't about presentation. This is about a team of people thinking through challenging ideas. Our decision-making is by majority. Hopefully there aren't too many decisions that come down to being 51-49, and hopefully if we have decisions to make, it will be because we have kind of come to a common agreement. We do use Robert's Rules of Order, so if we, for instance, want to move something to a vote, we would need a motion, we would need a second, we would take a vote, and then we would count that. And there are some reason that people might abstain. Certain members of our committee are not voting members, so they would be abstentions, for example. In terms of participation, all voices will be heard, and members are encouraged to contribute to the agenda suggestions, and we're going to do that a little bit later. The idea of step up, step back is this. Each of us know ourselves, and each of us has sort of a most comfortable way we operate in a group. Some of us are very comfortable speaking and will give our perspective often. Some of us are a little more reticent, and we're thinking, and we have amazing ideas that would really contribute to the group, but we're hesitant to say them. So the idea of step up, step back is, if you're one of those people who is a thinker but doesn't often share, I'm going to ask you to step up and come out of your comfort zone a little bit and be willing to share your thoughts. And if you're one of those people that shares regularly, I'm going to ask you periodically to step back so that we make room for all the voices to be heard. Our expectations are that we're engaged. We're going to share we're going to share ideas. We will respect each other's voices and perspectives. And as we heard during the presentations, we have a really wide range of perspectives here. This is a safe place to share ideas, and be prepared. Sometimes there will be things that we need to have you come to the meetings with. Not often, though. I don't want you to think, oh, gee, they didn't tell me there was homework. Our meetings are recorded, so you know, just keep that in mind. And we do ask that you refrain from posting to social media about what goes on in the committee. That if there are conversations to be had, let's have them here rather than, say, on Facebook. So I would ask if there's anybody who would like to propose a change to these. Here's going to be a good challenge. So if you have anything you'd like to add or anything you'd like to have us change, why don't you go ahead and raise your hand and then unmute your mic and let's hear your thoughts. And the problem with the blur background is it also blurs your hand. But Victoria, I think you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask a little bit, not having been on the committee last year, about social media and posting. I think I understand the rationale. However, since we were all kind of, we applied and we're kind of representing greater bodies outside of ourselves, whether that be parents or teachers, and social media, especially in the times that we're in, is really the way that people connect and get feedback from others in their circle or expanding their circle and bringing ideas back. So speaking only for myself, as the president of FUDTA, for me, I would find that norm to actually hinder my ability to participate, because I would feel like I've now been capped in a way that I can't outreach to other teachers to bring things back. So I'd like to hear from the group if parents, for example, that is a way that they, like we have people who do like Young Mommies group or, these sort of things. And so that's a way that they kind of generate thought. So if the committee has thoughts, and if someone could maybe share a little bit about the thought from last year.
Great. Thank you very much, Victoria. I appreciate you bringing that up. Is there anybody who would like to comment on that?
This is Susan. I will comment. Victoria, I was actually the person that brought it forward. And the reason being, it's not to cap people. That wasn't the intent. It was because of so much misinformation over social media, and construing things in not a correct way. It was never to cap anybody. That's not the intention. Because I know in various venues that I'm involved with social media, I read things and I think that's really not the truth. And this is the truth. And so it wasn't to create malice or to refrain from people talking. It's just about the large amount of misinformation. And I brought that forward last year in the committee. Does that help explain it a little bit?
I absolutely, that's what I had thought, because sometimes there's negativity generated. I would want this committee, who is in the know and is working on things, to feel like, in fact, when they see that misinformation, oh, the district didn't ask us about what to do with science, and they don't even know what's going on with next generation. And I can post, Sue Lemke works round the clock on that, and she actually did an amazing presentation at the C&I committee. And here's the link to that meeting. That's the kind of positivity I would like to come from here. In addition to, if I know an agenda item is coming up, I would like to be able to post and say, hey, shoot me an email if you have an experience in this area that might help us. So that's the way that I'm thinking about it. But I think based on consensus, it would take vote. So I don't, Kim, if now is, and I'm not sure if Susan as chair, who would be monitoring that. But for my reasons stated, I would like to move that we be able to use social media, keeping in mind the intention of the original listing of the non-norms, as Susan very well described. But I would like to remove that as one of the norms, because I don't think confidentiality about posting and communicating is appropriate at this time.
So thank you very much. Now I'm going to try to do this right by Robert's rules. So Victoria has made a motion, basically, that we strike that. And then I know, Michelle, you would like to comment, but do we wait for a second before you comment? Is that how it works? Yeah. Okay. So is there anybody who'd like to second the motion that we remove that from our norms?
I'll second it, Kim.
Okay. Thank you, Stacy. So I'll open it up for discussion, and Michelle, we'll start with you.
Thank you. I think for me, what what this comes down to is what is the role of the actual members of the committee, if they are representatives of their various attendance areas, for example, or their bargaining groups, or whatever they are here representing, or the students, for example, from Surfboard E. Is their role then to go back and communicate their respective groups to get the feedback that we might want for making decisions, making informed decisions? So I think that you know, I'm not as I understand the intent about the social media, but I'm more interested in knowing if we have a role that we should be soliciting input and feedback from our respective constituents that we want to bring back. Then we need to have a way to do that. And then I had a second thing that I'd like to add, but I'll wait until that time.
Okay. So if to answer your question, I would welcome you to bring the voices of whatever piece of our community you represent. We're going to be 25 people, and we represent interests from all across Fremont and beyond. So if that helps answer your question, Michelle, I don't think that people have to only bring their own perspectives, but please do represent. Okay, so we have a motion to strike this from the norms, and we have a second. So yeah, Sue, do you want to?
I just wanted to mention that I appreciate the fact that this is the purpose of this committee. I had thought was to get the information out to the various groups. One of the things that we noticed happened last year was, even with our minutes, sometimes the minutes were taken in a way that were not reflective of necessarily exactly what had happened in the meeting, and being able to go back and look at those minutes and say, that's not reflective. There's some editorializing that's happening in those minutes there. And we were able to correct those minutes. And the one question I have about that is that if someone is posting on the Mommy and Me group, for example, I'm not going to ever see the Mommy and Me group to know what was posted. And so I fully think that this committee needs to be communicating out to the groups. And I want to know, I'm thinking, how do we try and make sure that there's not that editorializing that's happening out there? And I'm wondering if there's a way to do that.
Thank you, Sue. Yeah, Shilpa.
Can I'm bringing in the parent perspective, and it's both ways. I agree with the fact that absolutely eliminating participation in social media is going to be very hard. I already know that there are parents who knew before I got the email from Julie that I'm in the C&I committee. I had 3 parents message me, congratulations. And I'm like, what are you congratulating me for? And they're like, you made it to the committee. I said, oh, okay, thank you. So I think eliminating it is going to be very hard. But I also think that a lot of times the information does get misinterpreted, because even though we're thinking of the whole perspective, a lot of times our thoughts get narrowed down to our own personal situations, and our reactions are based on that. So if this does get eliminated as a parent, and just to be sure that I understand correctly, I would appreciate a more, some sort of, not like a step-by-step detailed guideline, but just like an overall blanket guideline into what the expectations are from the parent. So if I am asked questions, I know I have to eliminate the negativity and show the positivity, but what is the extent of that? Or do I just direct them to the minutes and the recording of the meeting?
So is that a question you'd like me to answer for you now? Okay.
Now or later, whichever works based on the meeting agenda. That's okay. Fine.
Well, given that the meeting is we are being live streamed, we're being recorded, there's nothing that is said in this meeting that isn't public record. So from that perspective, I would never ask you to, nor would there be any point to say, please don't share, what we talked about at the meeting. It's public record. It's a public meeting. But I like what you said about eliminating the negativity and just maintaining the positive side of things. And I'm thinking maybe that was the spirit in which this was originally written, just as a way to make sure that we didn't end up with this spiral of negativity that can happen. We've all seen it happen on social media, and it doesn't end up being productive for a group to have negativity, just mushroom. So I think you hit the nail on the head there when you said we're just trying to maintain the positivity.
So, and then maybe we just say refrain from negative posting or something to that effect and keep it that way.
Okay, so now I get just a teeny bit lost in Robert's rules. Do we have to vote on the original motion, which was to eliminate it, right? And if we vote to eliminate it, then we can change it to something else.
Yeah, and we could, Shilpa could make another motion and that would be fine too. I just wanted to then say that Shilpa's comment, we can go back to what the meaning of majority as a consensus means, because that has to do with a bit of the messaging if you are a committee member and what kind of message you put out. So we could talk about that after this vote, because I think that starts to touch on other things, but I don't think it's appropriate under confidentiality.
Mr. Banerjee, I saw that you had
Yeah, thank you. I think I get both perspectives here. I think I'm erring on the side of refraining from posting social media about discussions, because everything else, the information and this right now it's live streamed, so anyone can actually go to the YouTube and see it right now what we are discussing. I think why I'm erring towards refraining is because we also want this to be a safe place to share ideas. And I think when you share ideas, your ideas are not, your perspective is not well thought of. And any posting of that in the social media can get into it can be a rabbit hole. So that's my perspective. Thanks.
All right, thank you. So let's go ahead and take a vote. And the motion on the table is that we would eliminate this from our norms. So if you are in favor of taking this item out of our norms, knowing that we can either leave it out or we can replace it with something else, will you just raise your hand so I can kind of see who's interested? So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Will somebody else count those? I think 9 is the number. Please leave your hands up so we can count.
Kim, it might be easier to stop share for the vote. That way you can see everybody on one screen. Sorry, I don't mean to interject.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
Stacy. I was just gonna say the same thing.
good idea.
Then maybe since it's a vote, you need to ask everyone to show their screen and to turn on their video.
Okay, so if you'd like to participate in the vote, I do need to have you turn on your video. Obviously, Luis isn't going to do that because he's here in a technical perspective. And so let's do the vote again. So a hand out where we can see you if you are in favor of eliminating this from our norms. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that what you get? Is 9 yeses? Okay, and given that there are 19 members, although a few of you are not voting members, so I would say that that is a majority. That is a majority, because we do have a couple members here who are non-voting members. So the first decision is that we will take that out, and then here's what I'd like to propose, simply for the sake of time.
Sorry, Kim, just a point of order for when it's fine for this one, because you're saying that it passed. but you would still call no's because it doesn't mean that a majority have to be yeses. It just means for Robert's rules that there are more yeses than no's. So if even voting members abstained, you don't have to get more than half who voted yes affirmatively.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so what I'd like to do, or I'd like to propose at least, would be rather than, because we've only got about 20 minutes left in our meeting tonight, and we do need to get to electing a chairperson, a vice chair, a secretary, and a treasurer at very least. And I had hoped we could get into a little bit of a discussion about equity, but I think we're going to run out of time. So how about if I propose this? If you are interested in meeting with me on the side, and whoever else among us is interested, and maybe coming back with some possible options for wording that might replace that item, we can do that between now and when we meet again. We can bring that back to the committee, and rather than all of us trying to wordsmith at the same time, which is going to be really challenging, that would at least give us a starting point. So would that be okay with you if you do that? Okay, fantastic. Then you can let me know by email, or you can put your name out in the chat. Because, Jamie, I'm going to get a recording of the chat, right? No. Okay. You're on mute, Jamie.
No, you don't get the chat. You get the recording of the polls and the Q&A. But I can, if they put it in the chat, I can copy it and put it onto the minutes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So if you're interested in being part of that subcommittee, if you will, go ahead and put your name into the chat. And remember, you do that with the box that looks like a little chat box. Click that, and then down at the very bottom, there's a line that says send a message to everyone. Just type your name in, hit return, and it'll drop it into the chat. And if you have any trouble with that, send me an email. I don't want you to not be on the committee because the chat was challenging. Okay, so as I mentioned, we do have one other really important thing that we need to do tonight, and that is that we need to choose our officers. So I'm going to go back to sharing. Let's see. Oh. Okay. So are you able to see the officers? So we have 4 people who are officers. So we need to choose a chairperson, and the duty of that chairperson would be to preside at the meetings, to work with me to co-develop agendas, and then to also serve as a spokesperson. And you might say to yourself, gosh, when would we need a spokesperson? One of the requests that has come out of the board meetings is that the board would, at the end of the year, like to hear from the committee about the work that we've done and the conclusions that we've drawn. So you would be the person who would be doing that presentation at the board meeting. I'll be there beside you, but you would be our spokesperson. We need a vice chair, and the vice chair assumes the duties of the chairperson if they are unable to perform. A secretary who just takes minutes for our meetings, and then each meeting we review the minutes from the previous meeting and approve them because those become public record. And then a parliamentarian who oversees the process of voting, which obviously you can see that's going to be important for me to have some help with that. So. All right, so let's take them one at a time.
I actually have a question, Kim, on that. I don't know if you can throw it up there. Did these descriptions come from our bylaws?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess the parliamentarian generally just is also a point of contact for other things, like with monitoring motions and that sort of thing. Is there anything in our bylaws that precludes the parliamentarian from also just assisting not only with just voting? Generally parliamentarians do that as well.
You know, Victoria, I don't know the exact wording off the top of my head. I'm happy to take it as an action item to look into the exact wording of the bylaws to see there. I don't remember that there's anything that limits the parliamentarian to simply overseeing the voting process.
And then with respect to secretary, just because on the LCAC, secretary also monitors the roster and then helps to let the chair know when additional positions need to be filled. So they would help keep the committee apprised so that there's full representation. So as long as there's someone doing that that work, but for other committees, it falls into the secretary.
Typically, that's been done by my secretary because we keep, we do it, well, we generally have a sign-in sheet, but we'll have an electronic record of who attended this meeting. And then we maintain a grid of who has participated in meetings, who has missed meetings, and such as that. Okay, is there anyone who would be interested in being considered as the chairperson for this committee?
Hi, Kim, it's Stacy again. I know Susan did a great job partnering with you last year, so I'd like to nominate her.
All right, Susan, is that a nomination you would be willing to accept?
Yes, it is.
I would second.
Is there anyone else who is interested in also being considered for this position?
Sorry, can you let me know who just seconded Stacy's nomination?
Victoria.
Thank you.
But it might be done by acclamation, so it might be unnecessary, Jamie.
Okay. I got to say, Victoria, I'm really hoping you become our parliamentarian because I feel like that's a job you're going to fulfill quite naturally, but I'm not going to get you there yet. Okay, so, well, then let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor of Susan Candio Hernandez being the chairperson, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, I see 16 yeses. Thank you. Are there, and is there anyone who would prefer to vote no? No, okay, then the motion carries 16-0. Thank you very much, Susan. I look forward to working with you.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure, absolutely.
I'm wondering, because we have 2 students who are involved, and I wondered if there is a way, it's not in our bylaws, but if there's a way they could sort of be chairperson in training or somehow to have that experience of working with Susan and working with you on developing agendas. And I haven't talked to them. I don't know if they're interested, but I think it would be nice to have that level of engagement from our students.
Okay, thank you. And possibly the co-chair or the vice chair might be a great way to do that. And we can just include everybody as we're working on agendas and such as that. So is there anybody who would be interested in being considered for the vice chair position?
I just want to encourage any student to volunteer themselves because as a teacher, we're going to volunteer you. So anyone interested, I would say Susan's never absent. So you would probably not have to actually chair it, but oh, Tusha, excellent. I would nominate Tushar for vice chair position.
Okay.
I would like to nominate Stacy for vice chair also.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did we have a second for Tushar?
I will second that.
And I saw Ashurya had her hand raised.
Oh, yeah. No.
Are you sure?
Ashurya is going to be my parliamentarian in training. I've already got my eyes on her. Don't worry, Michelle.
I like that.
Okay, thank you. And I heard there was another nomination. I thought I heard that, maybe not.
Stacy.
Okay, so Susan nominates Stacy. Is there a second for that?
Sorry, who was the second for Tushar?
Krista.
Thank you, Krista.
As much as I would love to be vice chair again, I like the idea of a student, so I'm okay if there's no second.
All right. Then we will take a vote. All in favor of Tushar being our vice chair, please raise your hand. 14, 15, 16. Okay, I have 17 yeses. Is there anyone who'd like to vote no? Okay, and the motion carries 17-0. Congratulations, Tushar. All right. How about our secretary? Is there anyone who's interested in taking the minutes? All right, let's move on to parliamentarian. Maybe there'll be somebody who runs for parliamentarian and doesn't get it and wants to be secretary instead. So let's step on to parliamentarian, who's just oversees the process of running the meetings, particularly as we're in decision-making mode, which we will actually do more rarely most nights than we're doing tonight. But is there anyone who would like to either nominate themselves or nominate someone else as a parliamentarian?
I like to be co-parliamentarian.
All right, sold. You can be co-parliamentarian.
I second that.
Okay.
I like to nominate Victoria as the other co-parliamentarian.
I agree.
And I would second that.
Yes, amen.
Jamie, were you okay to get everybody?
Yeah.
We're a little bit out of order, but I would like to merge those two motions to just be one. Noted.
So the motion is that we would have basically co-parliamentarians, Ashurya and Victoria. Okay, all in favor? Raise your hand.
Ashurya, you don't even know how much we're going to be meeting. Those agenda setting, you're going to wish you were just co-chair.
Thank you. I have 17 yeses. Would anyone like to be a no vote? No? Okay, the motion carries 17-0. Let's go back to secretary. Is there anybody who's interested in that position?
Kim, I was muted again before. I'm sorry, it's Susan. I'd like to nominate Mr. Cruz. I know he did a fabulous job last year with very detailed minutes. And Mr. Cruz, I haven't talked to you previously about before this meeting, but I would like to nominate him.
All right, is there?
I'd like to second that.
Mr. Banerjee seconded. Okay, thank you. I think we should ask Mr. Cruz if he's interested. Seems unfortunate for him to come back from getting a glass of water and discover he's been nominated into a position. Mr. Cruz, would that be something you'd consider doing for us?
I've actually respectfully declined this time. I picked up a department chair position over at my college, so I just want to make sure I can be there all the time.
Great, thank you very much, and congratulations on your department chair position. That's exciting. All right, do we have anyone else who would be interested in nominating themselves or nominating someone else? All right, well, the other thing we could do it on a rotating basis. So maybe each night somebody different takes the minutes. That would be another possible way we could handle this. Okay, so we got 3 of our 4 officers. That is, that's good. So thank you very much for that. The one last bit of business that we're going to need to do really only involves people who were on the committee last year. And that is that the final thing we need to do is we need to take a read through the minutes from the final meeting last year and approve them or amend them and then approve them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that I'm going to go ahead and close the meeting. Well, let me say this. If you are new to the committee this year and you would like to go ahead and sign off, I will bid you adieu and say thank you so much for your willingness to be here and to serve. And our next meeting will be on Tuesday, the 17th of November. It will be again at 4:30. It will be held online as this one was. We'll send you a meeting invitation that has the link in it. And we just really look forward to hearing from, seeing all of you and hearing from you.
Sorry, Kim, point of order. Are you dismissing because they would workshop adjusting, but will be voting on adoption of minutes at the next meeting?
I would be letting people leave who were not part of the final meeting last year because they wouldn't be able to vote on whether the minutes accurately reflected what happened in the meeting last year.
So we actually, just because we weren't here, don't forfeit voting rights. So minutes are viewed for a variety of reasons, accuracy only being one of them, but also comprehensibility. So as voting members, we still do have the right to vote should we choose. Of course, many do abstain when they were absent, and that's a right as well. But then it would be, it's still a voting decision, and the current committee is the one that takes that back.
Okay. Having said that, I will put into the chat the link to the minutes. You can go to the chat, take a moment, open those up, take a look at them. And if you find anything where you'd like to suggest a change, let us know. I'll give you about 2 minutes to look those over. Yes. Okay, perfect. Luis, is there anything that I need to do to close this down when we end our meeting? Okay, thank you so much for your help, Luis. Appreciate it tonight.
Question on the public comments, were they all read out loud at the meeting? And is that meeting in its entirety, including the reading out of the oral communications posted on the website?
So the answer to your first question is yes, they were read in their entirety. There was just one comment. And so given that we have 10 minutes for public comment, that wasn't a problem at all. I don't believe that the meeting last year was recorded. So if there is a question about, is there an oral recording of that? No, I don't believe there is.
No, there wasn't.